When I wore this top for the one of the 30 days cut and sew challenge, I got a lot of people who said, can we get a tutorial? Can we get a tutorial? So today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to cut this top. So let's get started. Hi soulmates. Alright, so this is the pattern for the top. Whether you're a freehand tailor or a pattern drafter, this top is a very, very simple top that you can draft. It's a very, very simple top. The first thing you're going to do is to draft your basic bodice. This is my basic bodice, my bust, waist, and hip. Then I added 2 inches. You have to add 2 inches to the front pattern, like so. Then you put your allowance on your pattern. Then I'll proceed to cut it out. I already added 1 inch allowance by the side. It is not going to have any dots. You can add allowance to your armhole and your shoulder. So that means you're not going to be, when you're transferring to your fabric, you don't need to add any allowance to it. So this is my pattern. You're going to draft your back pattern as well. But when you're drafting your back pattern, you're not adding 2 inch allowance to the end. So now let's proceed. Our neck measurements, our neck width is 3 inches. You understand? That's the basic neck width, 3 inches. You're going to mark your 3 inches like so. I'm going to be opening my pattern like this. So when you're drafting this top, you are drafting a full block for it, for the front. So this is my 3 inches. Then the next thing to do is to draft this side like this. You don't need pattern. You can use your pattern curve ruler or your pattern master for it. But so most of my things I do more freehand when necessary. If it's not necessary, like this. Then this part here, you're going to be using your ruler to draft this part here because it has to be straight, like so. Then let me tell you one thing to do again. You see your the next thing to do is to bring your fresh pattern like this and you put it under a new pattern. After putting it under a new pattern, you're going to draft this out of it. You're going to use your tracing wheel to trace this. This one here is for this part here. I already transferred it to another pattern paper. So this part here is for this one right here. Can you see? So you can now reshaping it to your desired. So this is for this part here. Then the next thing you're going to do is to fold. You see this part here? You're going to fold it. You're going to cut this part just small, like this. You cut this part here like this, small, kinky like that, because this one is coming back here. So you're going to cut that part that is coming out from, that is coming back to. You're going to cut it like this. Having done that, you now fold. You see this fold here? You fold it like this. You can see that it's very simple. You fold it like this and you flip it back to the front. You see? You are flipping it back to the front like this. I'm still going to be adding my papers to it because of this shape here. We don't need that at all. So I'm going to be adding fresh papers to it as well. So I'll add paper to it. I'm going to bring it down like this to your desired length. And I do more freehand sometimes when I'm working with some styles. Then you give it this shape back to this part here. You know, it is not going to reach this point here, so it's going to come back here to this point, because by the time you sew it, you need to sew this part inward. Then I'll proceed to cut. I do more freehand sometimes. That is why I don't have a standard measurement for some of my things. So you can measure when doing yours. So can you see? So when you are cutting this, you are cutting like this on your pattern, on your fabric. You are cutting like this on your fabric. This is how it's going to be on your fabric. You are cutting two. It is going to have a lining. You are going to use that same fabric to cut like half of it before you put your lining on this down part. Because by the time you are flipping it back here, your fabric is going to show. And your fabric needs to be on this part as well. Your fabric needs to be here and here. So you are cutting at least half part for your lining. Your main fabric is going to be half of the lining, or you cut two of this if you have enough fabric. So by the time you flip like this, automatically you have this. And this was the neck we removed. This was the neck we removed earlier. We are bringing this one back here. Like so. I hope you guys can see that it is very, very simple. Very simple and well detailed. Like so. So if you feel like this place is too much, you can reduce it. But when you want to cut this on your fabric, you need to have at least half 0.5 inch allowance to the side so that you don't have shortage. And I'll advise you, because if you check mine, you see that it is gaping. It is gaping on this part here. You can just, take 0.5 inward from this part to avoid any gap around. You can just take 0.5 inward here and tape it back to avoid that gap, because I noticed mine was gaping. I had to start holding the neck. So now, automatically, I've eliminated that gap from this one, like so. There's a mistake here, so like this. So this one is coming here, back. So the next thing to do is to do your slash and spread method on that side that's here. Alright, so for this part here that has pleats, the first thing you're going to do is to give it a slash. I don't have a standard measurement for it. You're going to give it a slash out. It's entering your dart line on for your front. For this other part here. So we're going to cut this part out. So the reason why we added 2 inches allowance to the side is because one side is longer than the other side. This is my actual length. This is my actual length, but this side is longer than this side. You understand? This side is longer than this side. And when you're sewing, you are stopping your sewing somewhere here. You're going to go up at least 5 or 6 inches. Your sewing is going to stop somewhere around. The first thing you're going to go inward by 0.5. You're going to measure 5 or 6 inches. Where you want your sewing to stop first. Remember that's 6 inches first. You go in by 0.5. But by the time you sew it, that's automatically 1 inch. Or 0.5. Then you give it this shape here. And give it this shape here. Like so. And you cut it out. You cut that 0.5 out. The other side is going to be open. So by the time you sew, this part is going to be like this. Then this one, you are going to reduce your move because it's just one side that is longer than the other side. So this one is automatically going inward back to your main this one is automatically going to your actual measurement. You're going to cut this part back to your actual measurement. You can just do it like this. This part as well is going to your normal length. Can you see? Because this part is longer than this part. So that was why I reduced this part a bit. So it's not equal. One side is longer than one side. So by the time you sew it, you're stopping your sewing here. Then the next thing you're going to do is to notch where you want your slash and spread to start from so that you don't miss it. So mine, I'm going to mark this point here. So that by the time I want to join, I'll know that, oh, this is where my slash and spread started from. So you see this point here, you're going to mark through this point here. This is the only place you're going to be slashing in your pattern. Then you slash, depending on how much you want that place to be new. You're going to do as much as you want. Can you guys see? Depending on how much you want your plate to be, that's how you're going to spread. Like this. So when you want to cut your fabric, this is how you're going to be cutting your fabric. You're going to flash it on your fabric like so. This is how you're going to be cutting on your fabric. You see this part here? You're cutting it out like this, like this. Then you proceed to slash this part here on your fabric. And if you want to do everything on your pattern, you can add more papers to it. You can add your papers to it, and after